Alright, so we're going to look at this concept of this having gone from all of a sudden being 100 to just being 1. So we're going to put it over here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many holes do I have on this side of the decimal point? You can see I set up a decimal point in the middle here, and I've got tenths and hundredths, and I've got ones, twos, threes. I've got ones, tens, and hundreds over here. How many do I have? How many did I put in there? Okay, show me with your fingers. I'm only seeing a few hands up. Okay, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I should see one whole hand up. There's 5. Okay, there's 5 over here now. I'm going to add 5 more to that. How many do I have on this side of the decimal? Please show me with your fingers. Please show me with your fingers how many I have on this side of the decimal. Good. I have 10. I should have 10 on this side of the decimal. Excellent. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to write a 1 in the tens place because I just have 1 10. And then I have to put 0 in the ones place because I don't have any at all. I don't have any at all in the ones place. I just have only 10. Okay? And I don't have any hundreds. So I'll put a 0 in the hundreds place so you can kind of get the idea of that. But now I'm going to pull in some tenths. Okay? Some of these longs that are 10 cubes. So I'm going to pull these in. Alright? Give me a thumbs up, a thumb sideways, or a thumbs down if you can see that this is smaller than this. Can everybody see that this one is smaller than this? Okay. So if this is 1, this must be smaller than 1, right? That's the only solution. To know that this is smaller than 1 because it's smaller than what the 1 is. Okay? How many of these can I fit into this flat? Show me with your fingers. How many of these can I fit into this flat? Let's see, what have you got? Good. I should be able to fit 10 of these. That's why these are the tenths. That's what makes these tenths, because I can fit 10 of them in there. Alright? So, I'm going to give myself some tenths. Let's see. I'm going to have 4 tenths. Okay? Is this going to equal to 1 yet? So is it bigger than 1 or smaller than 1? Thumbs up if it's bigger, thumbs down if it's smaller. Let's see. Good, it's smaller. This is littler than this, right? Still littler. You guys can see that, right? Smaller than 1. So we're going to leave it right on this side of the decimal point. Okay, and there's 4 of them. Now, how many of you can see that this is smaller than this? Okay, I should see everybody with a thumbs up. Alright, this is definitely smaller, no question. Okay, and if I were to ask you how many of these can we fit in this flat, how many cubes can we fit in this flat, I would probably see you blink your fingers at me 10 times to say 100. Okay, but you agree that this is smaller than 1, don't you? Now, because you can see that if this is 1, this is most certainly smaller than 1, isn't it? Okay, no question about that. So I'm going to give myself some hundredths. And how many of you can actually see that a hundredth is smaller than a tenth if I stick it beside it? How many of you can see that? Thumbs up, thumbs sideways, or thumbs down? Okay, thumbs up means you can see it. Thumbs down means you can't. Thumbs sideways means you're trying, but you're just not quite sure you're there yet. Alright? So this is what we'll do. And we can put a few hundredths right in over here. Alright? And let's see if we put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hundredths in there. Take that 2 out and we'll put 5 hundredths. Okay? So the number that I've created now, I'm going to write it above without the place value underneath. Whoops, where you can see it. Okay? How do you think you might read this? How do you think you might read this? And I'll give you a hint. A decimal point is always read AND in a number. So if we have this decimal point in the number, it's read AND. Okay? So some of you have ideas how to read this. I can see that. This is 10 and 45 hundredths. Okay, so 10 and 45 hundredths. Okay, if there were a 0 here, you could read it as just 4/10, because there's no hundredths at all. Alright, so that's going to take some practice, but we'll practice it. We'll get the idea. Alright, but this is sort of an introduction to you to working with these numbers that are littler, that are smaller than the number 1. Okay? Now what if I were to do this? Would you be able to read this number to me? Whoops, no, that's not going to work. Would you be able to read this number to me? If you saw that? Could you read that? Give me a thumbs up if you think you could read that. Okay, so you're going to have to look right up at the board. You're going to have to look right up at the board in order to see this. Okay, so how many of you would read this $10 and 45 cents? That's perfect. So if you know how to read money, you can definitely learn to read decimals. Okay, with whole numbers bigger than 1 or bigger, and numbers littler than 1, because that's like the cents. Okay, now one thing I will tell you that you don't have to know today, or for a while really, is if you keep going, you're going to have a thousandths place. You're going to have a 10,000ths place. And just like when you go to the left, the numbers get bigger and bigger. When you go to the right, the numbers get smaller and smaller and smaller by a factor of 10. So look how much this got smaller by. And then look how much this got smaller by. Can you imagine what a thousandth is going to look like? Okay? It's going to be really teeny tiny. Okay, this is a tenth of this. This is 1/10 of this. A thousandth is going to be 1/10 of this. Okay, it just keeps getting smaller. A 10,000th will be a tenth of that teeny tiny thing. Okay, so there are numbers smaller than 1 that we work with. Alright, so that's your introduction to working with these place values and decimals. Okay, these small numbers.